We're glad to have you back. You're still watching Newsnight here on Arise News with me, Ndi Amogo. The Progressive Governors Forum has expressed deep sorrow over the death of former President Muhammadu Buhari, condoling with President Bola Tinubu, the Nigerian people, and the late president's family. Well, the chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum and Governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, in a condolence message says they received the news of former President Buhari's passing with profound shock and sadness. Governor Uzodinma described the death of the former president as a monumental loss, not just to his immediate family, but to the nation at large. According to the Progressive Governors Forum, the late former president was a patriot who will be remembered for his stance against corruption and indiscipline. All right, we're being joined live from Lagos by former spokesman of late President Muhammadu Buhari, Femi Adesina. Glad to have you join us on Newsnight. First, condolences because you walked with him. So I'm sure that you're feeling... First off, what was your reaction, when you heard the news of the late president's demise?
Yes, a feeling of deep loss. Deep loss. Yes, I had followed his progress in the hospital. When he came out of intensive care unit, one had hope that he will pull through. There are some of our colleagues that we were aides together who are there with him, so we are in touch. And the last feedback I still got was that, well, it could go well. But you see, when a man is 82, 83, it would have been 83 in December, then anything could happen. We were full of hopes that he would make it, but sadly, he didn't.
Yes, sadly indeed, he didn't. Nigeria mourns, you mourn, and of course the family mourns. Break down his legacy as a democratic president. You worked with him closely for 2 years. For a number of years, 2 terms rather, not 2 years.
8 years, yes, 8 years. His legacy is that of somebody who loved Nigeria dearly, and he inspired patriotic fervor. I remember when there were pockets of troubles in different parts of the country. You had IPOB in the east, you had the south and trouble with those who were stealing oil, and you had Boko Haram in the north. One day he told us, he said, those who felt they would dismantle Nigeria had better think again. He said it would not be under their watch. Them that fought the civil war. He used to talk of trekking from somewhere in the north to a place called Gakem in the border of Cameroon. He said after they did all that, they would not keep their eyes open and watch Nigeria dismantled, that it would not happen under their watch. So he was a patriotic Nigerian, somebody who loved to see Nigeria together as one. That's a legacy. Another legacy is that of accountability. He used to talk about the national treasury being a trust. And he would say, they don't give you something as a trust, and then you abuse that trust. He saw his position as one of trust in the country. So that's a legacy Nigerians must imbibe from his life and times. And of course, integrity. If the president said something, you could take it to the bank. He was a man of integrity. He would not say something today and then come and retract himself tomorrow, because he would have thought it through before he said it. He was a man of integrity.
Yeah, but in some quarters, the feeling is that integrity, accountability did not pass down to those who worked with him. One of his legacy quotes, if you like, is, if you don't kill corruption, corruption will kill us. Some believe that under his administration, for him, maybe not, but people that worked under him were not that way.
Yes, till now, there hasn't been one conviction. One conviction. There are allegations, but allegations don't tantamount to conviction. Until those people have their days in court, and some are in court, and the cases are concluded, you cannot say they abused trust. But even if at the end of the day, some of them were convicted, it has nothing to do with President Buhari. Nobody can accuse him of anything that has the slightest affinity to corruption. He was such a straightforward man. But I will not discount the fact that some of those who worked with him may have done some things that are not admirable. But till now, no single conviction.
Let's take that further, Femi. One area of his life that attracted so much criticism was a lack of minding those who served under him. He believed that people should just do their work. So there was no sort of overseeing the people who were working under him. Leadership requires that you lead people by making sure they do what they're supposed to do. And that seemed to be one of his weaknesses.
Well, there are many types of leadership. There is the one they call eyes on and hands off. That was President Buhari for you. He had his eyes on what you were doing, but his hands were off. He would not disturb anybody that was working with him. He would let them do the work. But if it becomes apparent that you are failing in your work or you are tampering with public funds, then he acts. You know that about 2 or 3 ministers were removed under him. So it shows you that he had his eyes on what was happening.
Femi, most Nigerians refer to him as Baba Go Slow. For those who don't understand that phrase, it means a president who was slow to respond to issues, to take action. What's your sense of that perception of Nigerians about the late president?
He himself responded to that. He said, they call me Baba Go Slow. He said, yes, I will move slowly, but I will do the right thing. He said, order is better than speed. That was one quotation I picked from one of his speeches. Order is better than speed. You don't speed so much and you jumble up everything. Believe that order was better than speed. So even when he was military head of state, he always said it. Yes, we will be slow, but we will be steady.
One of his, if you like, I don't know whether to call him disciple, but at least I know that he rode on his back, to become the governor, is El Rufai. He says he's disappointed in Buhari's tenure, lapses in governance, policy execution, and leadership.
Well, it's only Malam El Rufai that can respond to that. If he said it, then ask him to defend it. All I know is that it was President Buhari who even persuaded Malam El Rufai to run as Kaduna governor, and he became a 2-term governor.
Boss Mustafa recently in a book launch made a statement that has stirred up controversy, across the nation. He said that Tinubu was not responsible for his winning against Jonathan. The belief generally is that without Tinubu, Buhari would not have become president.
I was at that event. I listened to that speech. That speech is still on YouTube. You can also listen to it again. Not in any place did Boss Mustafa mention President Tinubu. He didn't. And I'm glad that Mr. Bayo Onanuga, the spokesman to President Tinubu, was there too. And he has come out to say that what was reported was not what Boss Mustafa meant.
All right. Some believe that he rode on the shoulders, I'm not talking about the late president, he rode on the shoulders of the Talakawa, but actually did nothing really to improve their lives. What's your sense of that?
When you work for a country, you don't begin to segment the people and say this is for Talakawa, this is for the rich people, this is for this is for that. All you need is good governance, which will touch everybody. And that was what President Buhari did.
His administration fared badly.
I didn't get that.
Oh, well, I said, but the perception out there is that under the late president, the economy didn't fared badly under him. He didn't have a hang of the economy.
Well, the economy had always been bad. Many years before Buhari came. We can only say he did his level best to improve the economy. For instance, under him, we no longer ran a mono economy. The economy we ran was basically about oil, but he diversified the economy. Under him, we had a Greek. Under him, manufacturing began to inch up, and it was no longer a mono economy that we used to have. So you give him credit for that. It's not as if we got to where we should, but we didn't remain where we were in terms of the economy.
Well, the talk is that his economic policies were often criticized as being reactive and rigid. I mean, when you come to power, if it was bad, you're expected to make it better. But I mean, like I said earlier,
yes,
yeah,
and he made it better. He made it better than what he meant.
You think so?
Yes, not only that I think so, it is so. If you look at the statistics, it is so.
All right. Let me ask you this. You worked with him, like we've talked about, for 2 terms, 8 years. What would you say is late Muhammadu Buhari's weakness and then strongest areas? I mean, we've talked so much about his integrity, discipline, but you work closely with him. You saw him almost every day. So what would you say, really, was his weakness that probably played a bad one on his leadership for the 8 years, and then his strongest area as a leader?
Well, talking of weakness, I think it is being too permissive. You would see people on talk shows in the morning abusing Buhari. And you will get to his house in the evening and you will see those same people at dinner table with him. He was too permissive. And that was why maybe some of his aides, some of his appointees rather, took advantage of that. He was really permissive. Without being a weakling, but he was permissive. And then, of course, his strength lies in his sense of accountability. Very important. Before he got to power, I remember during the campaign, he said, every dime that comes into the Nigerian treasury will be used for the Nigerian people. And he stood by that. He stood by that. I have testimonies from people in the revenue side of government who will tell me, I have never seen a president like this before. He has never said to me, bring a dime. He has never sent anybody to me to say, give him this. From Central Bank, from NNPC, from MPA, I met the leadership of those places and they said, Mele Kyari of NNPC said, I have never seen a president like this before. He has never told me, bring this amount. Nor has he sent somebody to me to say, give him this. His sense of accountability was very strong.
All right, once again, I'm sure you're feeling the pain. One can't help but to say condolence to you, and
Yes.
of course, to Nigerians.
It was not just my boss, he was my friend. Yes.
All right. The former spokesman of late President Muhammadu Buhari, Femi Adesina, thank you for being on Newsnight on Arise News.